Hello and welcome back to today's episode of my YouTube content. In my previous videos, I taught how to properly draw trend line and also how to make money from it. And I also promised to teach a trend line trading strategy, which is one of the secrets I use in trading trend line. So if you are yet to watch that video, then I'll advise that you watch it before you come back to this one so that you can get a proper understanding of how to draw a trend line. In this particular video, I'll teach you everything you need to know about trend line. Before I get started, if you are not part of my Telegram channel, I'll leave the link in the description below where you can join and also tap for my knowledge. Hit on the subscribe button and also hit the thumbs up button if you want me to drop more and exciting content like this. Let's now look at the types of trend line patterns. The first one we have is the continuation pattern, and the second one is the breakout pattern. This is a continuation pattern. You can see price is moving upwards. This is just a presentation. We will go to the chart and do it for you to understand it better. So you can see that price is moving upwards, and anytime price hits the trend line, it continues moving, hits the trend line, continues moving, hits the trend line, continues moving, hits the trend line, and continues moving. So this is a continuation pattern of the trend line. The second pattern happens when price gets to the trend line. So you see price hitting the trend line, and then eventually when price gets to the trend line, it breaks out, causing the change of direction. So you can see price got here and then broke out of the trend line, causing the change in direction. So this is the breakout pattern. We talked about the continuation pattern, and we've also talked about the breakout pattern. I also want you to understand this. Anytime price gets to where the trend line is, does not mean that there will be a breakout or a change of direction, or price will continue moving in its direction. In the rest of the video, I'll talk about that and how to know whether there will be a breakout or a continuation depending on the price action that will form on that trend line. Now let's go into details. The first one we'll talk about is the continuation pattern. So when price hits the trend line and continues moving in the direction of the trend line, then we say this is a continuation pattern. Now when price hits the trend line, does not mean that you take a buy position immediately. There's a price action technique you have to look for around this area before you continue buying. Now one of the techniques you can use is a mini trend line. So when price gets to the trend line, what you need to do is you pick your tool, your trend line tool, you draw a mini trend line from here to the downside. You know, this is a continuation pattern in an uptrend, so you draw a mini trend line to the downside. So this is our mini trend line, and then the next thing you have to do is you wait for price to break out from the mini trend line. So immediately price breaks out from the mini trend line, this is confirming that our buy position is at play. So this is where you can immediately take your entry once the mini trend line is broken. This same technique can also be used in a downtrend. We'll go to the chart and do an example for you to understand what I really mean. The next one we'll talk about into details is the breakout pattern. So this happens when price breaks out of the trend line to switch direction, causing a switch in direction. So price gets here and we had a breakout to the downside, causing a change in direction. Now understand that when price gets there and caused a breakout, does not mean that you enter or you take a sell position immediately. Like the other one, there is a price action you have to look for around this area before you take a sell position. The reason why I said that is because the breakout of a trend line does not guarantee that the direction of the trend has changed. That is why I said you need to look for the confirmation or a price action around this area before you take a sell position. One of the ways you can do this is to look for a sign of momentum loss around this area before you can take a position. Let me teach you how that works. Please make sure you understand this concept once and for all. So what I'm trying to say is that one of the techniques you can use for the breakout pattern is what I am about to teach you. So when you look here, you see that price is forming a series of higher high around this area. Like I said, one of the techniques you can use is momentum loss. So you can see that price is forming a series of higher highs here, and then all of a sudden we had a lower high, which means that price was not able to break. We had a lower high, which means price was not able to break the previous high, telling us that there is a loss of momentum, meaning the sellers are coming into the market and buyers are refusing to push the market upwards. And all of a sudden we had a breakout of the trend line. So we had a breakout like this. So this is a good opportunity for you to take a sell. Let me take this again. What I mean is that price is moving in an uptrend, forming a series of higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows. Then all of a sudden we have a lower high, telling us that the sellers are coming into the market and the buyers are refusing to push the market upwards, telling us there is a momentum loss. So once you see a breakout, immediately you take your sell position. This is for an uptrend. This same technique can be used in a downtrend. Another technique you can use in trading this is spotting a double top rejection. So this is our double top rejection here. Let me put it here for you to see. This is our double top rejection around this area. So you see that price is moving, forming a series of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Then all of a sudden there's a momentum loss around this area. Price has refused to continue the higher high, which is telling us that sellers are coming into the market. Price came back to the trend line, moved up again, and has refused to still break the higher high to the upwards. This is telling us that there is a momentum loss and that sellers are coming into the market. Immediately price breaks out of the trend line like this, then you can take your sell position. So this is where we have the double rejection. It means that price has rejected that area twice by not continuing the uptrend. Double rejection by not continuing the uptrend, that is by not forming another higher high. So this is the double rejection. Some people will tell you this is a double top. So once you see this, price breaks out, immediately you take a sell position around this area. We also have other techniques like the stochastic and the RSI that we use in trading this type of trend line patterns, which I will also be teaching in another video. Let's move to the chart and see or feel the real part of this type of trend line pattern. But before that, just take 2 seconds of your time and hit on the subscribe button and also leave a comment below. Now here we are on the real chart, and our first pattern is a continuation pattern. So we have our trend line at the downside, and now I was telling you that one of the techniques you can use to trade this pattern, to know that the continuation, there'll be a continuation on the trend line at where the current price is a mini trend line. So what you need to do is once price gets to the trend line, you pick your trend line tool again, and then you draw a mini trend line this way from the up here to the downside. Now when you draw the mini trend line, immediately price breaks out, then you can enter a buy or take a buy position. So look at what happened here. We had a breakout here. So immediately we have a breakout of the mini trend line. You pull out your long position tool, drop it here, and make sure your Excel is below the trend line. Please make sure your Excel is below the trend line, so you can start taking your entry somewhere around after the close of this candlestick, this one here. You can take your entry immediately from here, and make sure your Excel is below the trend line. So look at the reaction of price on the continuation pattern when we used the mini trend line. You see price has gone up nicely. Like I said, this is one of the techniques you can use in trading the continuation pattern. The same thing can also be used in a downtrend. Alright, so this is a continuation pattern in a downtrend, and like I said, one of the techniques is to draw a mini trend line. So let's draw a mini trend line here, and let's see if this is going to work for us. So this is a continuation pattern in a downtrend. So just draw the mini trend line to the upside like this. Once that mini trend line is broken, then we can now take our sell position. So you see the mini trend line is broken. Once it is broken, we pull out our short position tool, then our SL will be a little above the trend line, yeah, sure, this area, and then our take profit can be at the nearest support or resistance, or above, can go above that. Let me zoom this for you to see very well. All right, so this can be our Excel, and then take profits can be here, or we can pull it downwards a little. So let's look at how price reacted at that area. So you can see the trend line, the mini trend line is broken, and the downtrend continued. You can see our take profit is triggered. So this is how you trade the mini trend line in a continuation pattern. Now let's move to the breakout pattern. Now let's look at another example of the continuation pattern in a downtrend using a mini trend line. So you know we have lower lows and lower highs to the downside, and we pick our, now we have our price on the trend line nicely. What do we need to do? We pick our trend line and draw a mini trend line at this area, and do what? We wait for price to break that mini trend line to confirm that the downtrend is valid. Then we can take our sell position. So immediately price breaks out of that trend line, then you can enter your sell position. So this is what happens after the breakout of the trend line. You can see price playing out nicely at this point. So this is what happens after the breakout of the trend line. So this is that for the mini trend line. This is one of the techniques you can use in trading a trend line. Let's talk about the breakout pattern. So you can see this is my trend line. You can see price is forming a series of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And as price got here, the higher low, the higher high did not continue. Price was not able to break the previous high, and now we have a lower high. This is telling us that there is a momentum loss, trying to tell us that there are sellers coming into the market. So we have momentum lost, or loss of momentum of price around this area. So this is loss of momentum. And if let me pick my trend line for you to see something. You can see that price is now moving downward, so there is no higher high that is forming around this point again. Now what do? You wait for price to break this trend line. Once there is a breakout, because there is a momentum lost here, we already have in our mind that the sellers are trying to come into the market. So what do? You wait for a breakout of the trend line. So immediately price break out of the trend line, you see, immediately price break out of the trend line, you take your sell trade. So look at the reaction of price after price break out of the trend line. You see, nicely we had a downtrend, continuation of the breakout to the downside. So this is telling us that the trend has changed. So we're in an uptrend, and all of a sudden we had a lower high and a breakout. So you take your entry right after the breakout of the trend line. This same thing, or this same technique, can be applied in a downtrend. All right, so the next technique we can also use for the breakout strategy, or the breakout pattern, is a double top, or what we call a double rejection. So you can see that here we have price forming a series of higher high, got here and then refused to continue the higher high. Okay, so now we have what is left here called the double top. So you see price came back to form what we call the double top, or a resistance. So this place is now serving as a resistance or a double top. So immediately you see that you should know that price has started losing its momentum. The buyers have started losing their momentum to the sellers. So now sellers are coming. So what you have to do here, once you see the double top, you wait for a breakout of the trend line. Immediately price breaks out, then you take your entry from there. So you can see price has broken out. Immediately price breaks out, you take your sell position. So that is all for the trend line trading strategy. There are other strategies about trend line that I'll be bringing on board, but for now, this is what you need to start making you money. Thank you for watching, and watch this space for another content. Thank you once again, and peace out.